Is that a poetry corner coming over the horizon? It is. Welcome to Poetry Corner numero tres. That's Guatemalan for the next one. No, it's not. Anyway, I'm your host, Zenny Tourino. I'm going to be reading you 3 more works out of Ba-Boom, a gross conglomeration of disgusting characters. The link is going to be in the description below. Show some love, show some love, show some love. I know y'all want to. First up, we have a story about a young man who has a problem with his excrement. It's called Thurman's Pooping Problem, naturally, and here we go. Thurman had a problem he developed in his teens, the result of a defect hidden deep within his genes. The problem was, every time Thurman would ejaculate, his stomach filled with knots and his bowels would evacuate. Every time he shot a load, his butthole had to spoil it. Even when he wanked at home, he sat down on a toilet. Girls in Thurman always failed, he wasn't cool or slick, and all the girls in Thurman's town nicknamed him Dookie Dick. Not a good nickname. He couldn't take the pain of life, the burden of his butt, so one night he planned to jump in traffic, ending his life's rut. He thought, my sex life is useless and it's killing me inside. Girls never want poop on the dicks that they ride. He climbed up on a highway bridge and started his doomed jump, but a strong hand jerked him backwards and he fell down with a thump. He stared up at a woman who looked like an ugly man. He asked her name and she replied, I'm Fecal Fetish Fran. Thurman thought, is this the gal to lift me from my slump? Maybe she won't mind that when I come, I also take a dump. Fran had gout, 2 buck teeth, and one eye that would droop, but Thurman didn't mind at all because Fran loved his poop. There were 2 lost lovers who at last had found their groove, and Fran fell more in love with every cum-poop combo move. Summer nights they stargazed while sitting on their stoop, and Fran would say in Thurman's ear, I'm ready for your poop. They'd run up to the bedroom after staring up at space, and Fran jerked Thurman from behind as he shat on her face. She gave morning handjobs and he'd always shit the bed, but this came to a sudden stop when Thurman found Fran dead. Her heart stopped beating in her sleep. It sounded like a splatter. Doctors said her ventricles were full of fecal matter. There was no one at Fran's funeral, just Thurman and his words, and in the casket on Fran's face, Thurman laid some farewell turds. Thurman then swore an oath he'd never poop again. In honor of his fecal Fran, stay poopless till the end. As soon as he got home, he packed some sawdust up his pooper, then staple gunned his butthole shut in his faithful stupor. Well, shortly after, cops found Thurman dead up in his room, his stomach filled with so much poop it popped like a balloon. Medics said a look of great relief was on his face, and police declared it right on scene an open and shit case. That's what happens. Poor old Thurman. Stuff your butthole, end up in a morgue. Lesson learned. I really hope you enjoyed Thurman's Pooping Problem. The next poem in Zenny Tourino's Poetry Corner is about a young man who had a startling interaction with Santa Claus. That's right, that obese piece of shit. Here we go. It's called Santa Claus Did 2 Bad Things. When Craig was 6 on Christmas Eve, Santa fucked his dog. He stuffed Craig's poodle, Jenkins, with his 7-inch Yule log. He didn't know Craig saw him. Craig watched him from afar, but Santa ate the cookies, entered Jenkins, and then smoked a cigar. Craig stared in horror at the scene unfolding in his home. Old Saint Nick had doused his dog with sticky festive foam. Jenkins couldn't stand up straight after the affair, but he wore a creepy smile and held his butthole in the air. You'd think that after poodle fucking, Santa would just leave, but that jolly obese fucker still had one trick up his sleeve. He pulled out a bag of water and attached a plastic tube, then slapped on thick a handful of extra greasy lube. Old Saint Nick pulled down his pants and leaned up on Craig's tree, then shoved the tube straight up his ass and squeezed the water free. Santa's face then smiled wide like a flower's bloom as he gave himself a holiday enema in Craig's living room. After Santa drained the pouch of water in his butt, he squatted in the fireplace and grabbed his big old gut. Suddenly, he farted out the liquid like a missile and blasted up the chimney chute so fast it made a whistle. Craig slowly picked up Jenkins with both eyes opened wide. Had Santa really fucked his dog, then farted back outside? Craig peered up in his chimney where the bearded man just fled. So that was how that jolly fuck got back up to his sled. 2 down, 1 to go. This next poem is called Sneaky Keith, the Dildo Thief. So, we're gonna find out why this motherfucker keeps snatching them dildos. Here we go. Purveyors of sex toys, you better beware. Suspicion of thievery hangs in the air. What could be causing that terrible feel? Why, it's Keith, and he's looking for dildos to steal. He doesn't care if they're used or they're new. He doesn't care if there's balls on them too. If they vibrate, he'll snatch them up just like he does. If they're red or they're purple, they're his just because. As soon as he gathers enough rubber dicks, he runs home and stacks them like phallus-shaped bricks. He always builds forts with fake wieners and glue, and he dances to tunes on his dildo kazoo. But one day, a dildo he stole on his trip had traces of crabs sprinkled onto the tip. They climbed in his hair and then into his ears, and they chewed up his brain just like small pubic shears. Keith died in his fort. His brain was no more. The crabs all had eaten it down to the core. So what did we learn about stealing? We won't. Because Keith learned the hard way. You simply don't. There you go. You do or you don't. Kids, don't.